In the beginning God created heaven and earth. Now the earth was a formless void. There was darkness over the deep, with the Spirit of God sweeping over the waters. God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that light was good, and God separated light from darkness. God called light day, and darkness he called night. And there was evening and morning the first day. God said, "Let there be a dome in the midst of the waters to divide the waters in two." And so it was. God made the dome, and it divided the waters under the dome from the waters above the dome. God called the dome sky. And there was evening and morning the second day. God said, "Let the waters under the sky come together into a single mass, and let dry land appear." And so it was. God called the dry land earth, and the mass of water seas, and God saw that it was good. God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants and fruit trees on earth, each bearing fruit of its own kind within it." And so it was. The earth produced vegetation, the various kinds of seed-bearing plants and the fruit trees, each bearing fruit of its own kind within it. God saw that it was good, and there was evening and morning the third day. God said, "Let there be lights in the dome of heaven to separate day from night, and let them be signs for festivals, days and years. Let them be lights in the dome of heaven to give light on the earth." And so it was. God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. God set them in the dome of heaven to give light on the earth, to rule the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. God saw that it was good, and there was evening and morning the fourth day. God said, "Let the waters teem with living creatures, and let birds wing their way above the earth across the dome of heaven." And so it was. God created great sea monsters and all the creatures of every kind that glide and teem in the waters, and winged birds of every kind. God saw that it was good. God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the seas, and let the birds multiply on land." And there was evening and morning the fifth day. God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures of every kind, cattle, creeping things, and wild animals of every kind." And so it was. God made wild animals in their own kind, and cattle in theirs, and all the creatures that creep along the earth in their own kind. God saw that it was good. God said, "Let us make man in our own image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them be masters of the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, the cattle, all the wild animals, and all the creatures that creep along the earth." God created man in the image of himself. In the image of God he created him, male and female he created them. God blessed them, saying to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Be masters of the fish of the sea, the birds of heaven, and all the creatures that creep along the earth." God also said, "Look, to you I give all the seed-bearing plants on the surface of the earth, and all the trees with seed-bearing fruit. This will be your food. And to all the wild animals, all the birds of heaven, and all the living creatures that creep along the ground, I give all the foliage of the plants as their food." And so it was. God saw all he had made, and indeed it was very good. And there was evening and morning, the sixth day. Thus heaven and earth were completed, and all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work he had done. He rested on the seventh day after all the work he had been doing. God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on that day he rested after all his work of creating. Such was the origin of heaven and earth when they were created. The Garden of Eden and the test of free will. At the time when the Lord God made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, nor had any wild plant yet sprung up, for the Lord God had not sent rain on the earth, nor was there anyone to till the soil. Instead, water came up from the ground and watered all the face of the earth. The Lord God shaped man from the dust of the ground and breathed the breath of life into his nostrils, and man became a living being. The Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and there put the man he had shaped. From the soil, the Lord God caused to grow every kind of tree, pleasant to look at and good to eat, with the tree of life in the middle of the garden, and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river flowed from Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided to make 4 streams. The name of the first is Pishon, and this winds all through the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of this country is pure. Bdellium and cornelian stone are found there. The name of the second river is Gihon, and this winds all through the land of Ethiopia. The name of the third river is Tigris, and this flows to the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. The Lord God took the man and settled him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and keep it. Then the Lord God gave the man this command: You may eat of all the trees in the garden, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you are not to eat, for the day you eat of that you shall die. The Lord God said, It is not good that the man should be alone. I shall make him a helper as a partner. So from the soil, the Lord God shaped all the wild animals and all the birds of heaven. These he brought to the man to see what he would call them, and whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. The man gave names to all the cattle, all the birds of heaven and all the wild animals, but no helper was found as a partner for the man. Then the Lord God made the man fall into a deep sleep, and while he was asleep, he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. The Lord God built the rib he had taken from the man into a woman and brought her to the man. And the man said, This one at last is bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and becomes attached to his wife, and the two become one flesh. Now, both of them were naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed.